Hi, I'm Michelle Davis. I'm the Executive Director of the International Fibrodysplasia Ossificans Progressiva Association. So the IFOPA represents people with an ultra-rare musculoskeletal disease. It's a single-point genetic mutation. There's about 1 in a million people in the world that have it. We know of about 1,000, so there are a lot of undiagnosed people living with this disease. And the disease essentially means that as their muscles are replenishing the stem cells, they come as bone instead of muscle. So it's really the only known disease where one organ system, muscle, turns into another, which is bone. So it's really interesting. About 97% of the patients have the exact same mutation. So as a disease space, that's a really good place to be in. And patients, most of them are born with funny shaped bent big toes. They're missing a joint in both big toes. Some people might be missing a joint in their thumbs, but it's mainly the toes. So they see the funny toes, and then people tell the parents, oh, it's cosmetic, we'll fix it later. And it could be a few months, it could be years later. They start developing lumps on their head, back, shoulders, neck, and those bumps are called flare-ups, and that is the bone forming process. And so the muscle that is there will be replaced with hard bone, and people with FOP become, progressively disabled. Most are in a wheelchair by the time they're in their 20s. Basically, it's about symptom management for the most part. There is one drug that has been approved. It was approved in January of 2022 in Canada, and then last year in 2023, both in the US and Australia. And that drug basically slows the formation of the bone. It's not curative, and it can't be given to children. The oldest, the age ranges are 10 and 12 and up. Are the people that can take it. So for the majority of people, it's about symptom management. So when I have a flare-up, which is very painful, pain medication, anti-swelling type medication. So majority of my career has been spent working in patient advocacy. I started out at the National Kidney Foundation at their national headquarters. I also worked for the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation at their national headquarters. But one of the forms of polycystic kidney disease is rare, and that's how I was first introduced to the rare disease community. So one of the great opportunities about working in a patient advocacy organization is that you get to work with these incredible patients and families. You also get to work with brilliant researchers and clinicians and clinician scientists. You have an incredible opportunity to interact with all levels of industry as well as regulators. So for somebody that loves working with people but that also loves really tough business challenges, working for a patient advocacy organization is a great career path. Well, we have the unique opportunity in a patient advocacy organization to be the voice for people, especially in the patient advocacy organization, in an organization that has professional staff or paid staff. That creates an opportunity for consistency. For many organizations where maybe it's led by a volunteer or a patient or a family member, as their health ebbs and flows, it becomes difficult to have a consistent leadership in those organizations. And that's really what it's all about, is that consistency. Consistency in patient service delivery, consistency in research, consistency in your interactions and your relationships with pharmas and clinical trials. And so that's really the critical role that the patient advocacy organizations play, is that voice. At the organization, it's the International FOP Association. So while there are FOP organizations in other countries, in the UK and Australia and South Africa, the International FOP Association really steps in and fills that gap all across the world. So we have paid staff at our organization. There's a team of 8 of us. So 2 in family services, 2 in research and real world evidence, a fundraising manager, an operations director. And so we work together to serve patients all over the world. So we might be taking, you've just been diagnosed and welcome to the community WhatsApp messages, from people from Bangladesh. So we really feel this need that when a patient is first diagnosed or if something changes with their disease or if they have a question about a clinical trial, they come to us. And then we also proactively develop programs and services for them. So we do a lot in disease management, but we also do a lot of programs in mental health, in caregiving, and also even in areas like helping people understand the financial responsibilities and how they manage their finances or how they manage transition of care. So those are really important roles that we play in educating families. We even have some programs around explaining FOP to children. Our family services manager is a child life specialist by training. We have someone on our staff who's an occupational therapist who works with our families as they experience progressive disability. These are services that are not always provided by their payer, and so we really step in that gap, and that helps us develop a relationship and trust in the community. And then when clinical trial opportunities come, we now have a database of people that we know and are connected to that we can share those clinical trial opportunities with. I mean, we're in a really unique position in the FOP community. It's a 1 in a million disease. There's about 1,000 known people in the world, so there's a lot undiagnosed, but there are 4 active FOP clinical trials right now, with a 5th coming. So that means that we need almost 1/3 of the world's population to enroll in a trial. And so that responsibility to help make sure that as many patients as possible know about the clinical trials and consider participation weighs heavily on the patient organization. So we do a lot through social media. So for most of the world, now there's huge gaps for us in Asia, but for most of the world we're able to communicate very effectively with our population through social media. So we'll do frequently asked questions, we'll do glossaries of terms. We have a robust section of our website that's all about clinical trials. So we list every clinical trial that's being offered, what phase it is, we explain the phases to people. We even go so far as taking the information that's on clinicaltrials.gov, which can sort of be a lot to sort through, and we distill that into more manageable chunks for patients so they understand what are the inclusion criteria, what are the exclusion criteria. We even, if the PI will allow us, we even put the PI's contact information for each location on our website so patients can go directly to them and to ask questions. So it's a really important part of our process. We also have webinars with other patients that are in clinical trials that just talk about the experience. Okay, I'm disabled. How do I manage getting to a clinical trial site when I'm disabled? How does that work for me? There's a fear of needles in our community, so people talk about how they manage that fear. So we use a lot of peer-to-peer interaction and then education to really help people understand what opportunities are available. And we allow them through our registry. We own the only registry for FOP in the world. We use the opportunities through our registry and through our programs to allow people to opt into emails that are specific to them about the clinical trials that are available in their country.